Welcome to perhaps the last video on SPC 229 schema. I am the Committee Vice Chair, Jason Glazer. Today we are covering a single data group, refrigerated case. I'm releasing the ballot at the same time as the video this week again. You can vote immediately, and if the discussion changes your mind about your vote, you have until the final deadline to change it. If you have any reason to vote negatively, please first consider sending an email to the group so we can discuss it and possibly change the ballots to meet your suggestions. Today's video is only about a small portion of refrigerated equipment that you might see in a building, and that is for only refrigerated cases. This part of the schema was heavily influenced by the requirements of 90.1, which focus on refrigerated cases. The table on the screen is table 681-11, which are the minimum efficiency requirements for refrigerated cases. As you can see, there's a maximum daily energy consumption for each unit. The baseline is table, which is now on the screen, is table G3.10.2, and it provides a baseline value for that same energy use in kilowatt hours per day in various equipment categories, family codes, operating modes, and rating temperatures. These are all based on ASHRAE 1200, and this table is about a page in Appendix G. The schema basically provides the data needed to verify the baseline characteristics from this table. The schema working group realized there's a lot more to refrigeration than this, and other energy codes and standards have more detailed requirements. In fact, describing refrigeration systems can be as complicated or even more complicated than a typical HVAC description. Unfortunately, we did not have all the expertise or engagement in the part of the working group participants to flesh this out further. At this point, the goal is to get refrigerated case data groups approved, with the understanding that in the future, additional data groups would need to be added when rule sets that include more refrigeration-related requirements are added to the schema. You may think of this as the first step, yet we know we have a long flight of stairs ahead of us on this topic. Remember that the schema is intended to aim in validating that the transformation between users' models and baseline model is done correctly, and is not intended to be a universal model of everything that can appear in a building or be modeled by a simulation program. So let me show you how it's connected up with other parts. So here is the refrigerated case data group. It's a child of the building data group, which is under the rule set model instance and ultimately the root item ASHRAE 229. Next, we'll go and talk about the schema in detail. So the ID, reporting name, and notes are the same as what we've talked about other times. Type is an enumeration we'll talk about in a moment. It also helps determine what row in that table to look at. Equipment category, again, is another item used to determine the row of the table. Is self-contained as a Boolean. Basically, if it's a self-contained refrigerated case, that means that it has a condensing unit as part of it. If it's not self-contained, then the condensing unit is remote. Application temperature has to do with the temperature for the specific refrigerated case that needs to be maintained. Basically, another enumeration that will be determine the row in that table. Power is the nominal power for the refrigerated case unit. And then the power multiplier schedule, if it's used here, would be the multiplier of the power in order to determine the power consumption of the refrigerated case. If it's not present, a thermal simulation would be modulating the power to determine the consumption for each time step. Next is the sensible fraction and the heat gain fraction, which shows how much of the sensible and total heat from the refrigerated case goes to the space that it's in. The case volume and total display area are two factors that are used in the formula for determining the baseline. Here, I'll go back to that. You can see this is total display area, but for some of them, they use volume also. Most use total display area. And then case zone indicates the location of the case, what zone it would be located in, and it's a reference to the zone name. So let's go and talk about those enumerations a little bit more. So for refrigerated case options, these categories, I believe, are all basically based out of ASHRAE 1200, the rates refrigerated cases. And these are the categories that are used there, plus other. Refrigerated case equipment category option is another way of looking at the, is a more detailed way of looking at the categorization of refrigerated cases, and divides it into basically horizontal and vertical and semi-vertical cases, along with how the door is. And then application temperature options are basically the three different temperatures that typical cases are rated at, medium, low, and very low. You'll please note that very low corresponds to the ice cream category in ASHRAE 1200. So that's it for today. It was not a very big data group that we're discussing. As a reminder, if you have questions or comments on the schema, please reply to everyone with your comment, and hopefully it can be resolved as part of the ballot. Thank you.